Thank you for tuning in to the Wealthy Optimist podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Hall. For the past several years, I've been a practicing mindset and personal development coach, guiding people of all ages to their empowerment and systematically teaching how to restructure your thinking patterns through my simple, practical methods and exercises I developed in my book, Positive Power: 12 Steps to Mastering Your Mindset. I have a 12-week program that takes you through the 12 steps and helps you break free and create the amazing, positive, and abundant life that you deserve. The link is in the description for both my book and my program and can be found at www.wealthyoptimist.com. In this podcast, we go deep into self-empowerment, conscious growth, and breaking free from emotionally painful traumatic experiences. You will learn how to allow yourself to let go of hurtful past events and shift your energy to a positive wavelength. Think of this as your weekly dose of inner power and personal growth. We will explore emotional intelligence, conscious evolution, psychology, and relationships both with ourselves and with others. Let love be your center. Learn to embrace love, to give love, and to express gratitude freely. This is the power you have within yourself, and I'm here to help you unleash it. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello and good morning. This is Sarah Hall, your host of the Wealthy Optimist podcast, The Wealthy Optimist herself. Thank you so much for joining me. It is Monday morning, so if you're listening to this on Monday morning, then I hope that you have a wonderful week. If you're listening to it at any other time of the day, then I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. I am very excited to be filming my next episode here with you all. True to form, I did not want to wake up this morning, but I did. I did it anyways. It is actually a bank holiday today in London, so we are filming this, and we got up at 5:30 in the morning on a holiday because I made a promise to myself that I was going to film my podcast every Monday morning, getting up at 5:30 a.m. So here we are, we're doing it, and I have, if you're watching this on YouTube, I have set up what I hope is a better backdrop and better lighting situation as opposed to my very first episode. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or any other podcast feed, please head over to my YouTube channel. I'd love to have you join our community there. It's a growing community. I'd love to connect with you all and talk to you and get to know you a little bit more. I've also just dyed my hair yesterday. This is completely off topic from the podcast, but I've just dyed my hair. I went blonder, if that makes sense. And I did film a video, so that YouTube video is going to be going up later this afternoon as well. So if you're interested to see what was slightly a quarantine fiasco of me trying to highlight my own hair with very minimal supplies, then hop over there. And if none of that interests you at all, then let's dive into the podcast this morning. So welcome to the podcast. As you know, we talk about all different kinds of emotional health, emotional well-being, relationships with ourselves and others. And this morning I actually wanted to talk about our environment, our surroundings. And there is a section in my book. So if you've not heard of my book is called Positive Power, and it is 12 Steps to Mastering Your Mindset. I also have a course that you can take to go alongside with the book that helps you to really dive deeper into what's holding you back and to help give you the tools and structure that you need to create a life that you absolutely love. And one of the steps is assessing your surroundings. And I think it's really interesting because a lot of people say that we are a product of our environment, and I actually disagree with this. So as a child, yes, we're a product of our environment because we can't control it. We can't control who we're raised by, our parents, our family, our situation, what city we live in, our house. We can't control anything because we're children. But when we're an adult, we're no longer a product of our environment. We're a product, our environment is a product of us. And that is because we make choices every single day of who we surround ourselves with, where we live, what we do, if we continue to allow certain people into our lives. And we have a very huge power over our surroundings. And that's why I made that an entire section of my book, because surroundings are so important to our mental health. And you'll notice this, especially I think in the quarantine situation that we're in right now. For a lot of people, it is a very difficult time, for myself as well too. I mean, there's been highs and lows and mental burnouts, and then moments of joy and appreciation for the situation that we're in. But if you are in a negative environment, if you are in an unhealthy relationship, even with yourself, even, or in an abusive relationship or something like that, my heart is with you. I've been in abusive relationships in the past. And if you are living with an abusive partner right now, or you're living with an abusive parent, or if you, any situation that you could be in, it is going to be completely amplified by the fact that you cannot extract yourself from that environment at the time. And this quarantine is really going to highlight for a lot of people, perhaps, who didn't realize how the extent of the abusive relationship that they were in, whether it's an emotional abuse, if it was a physical abuse, I'm sure you already do realize the extent of it, as that's very hard not to realize. But if it's an abusive relationship that's emotional, you might have been ignoring it for a long time, trying to accept it, trying to work through it. Maybe you knew something was wrong, deep down inside, but you love the person and you want to make it work, and it's going to be amplified now because you are constantly with them all day, every day, and that's a part of your inherent surroundings. Now, there's another aspect of this too that has nothing to do with abuse, is negative people and being around negative people, being stuck in negative situations or negative environments. And I want to talk to you today about how you can make tweaks and changes to get yourself out of those negative environments and create a more positive, safe place for yourself, because you're not going to be able to do the inner work if you're not first taking care of your mental health and your body and your environment and your space, because you're not going to be able to think clearly. You're not going to be able to take those actionable steps to protect yourself and to give yourself that self-care and that self-love that you need. So there's a quote from my book where I've written that what surrounds us at any point in time is the result of our past thoughts and decisions, just as the thoughts and decisions taken today will mold what surrounds us tomorrow. Now, this is very true in what I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, that our past thoughts and past decisions would have shaped our environment up until this point, but you have the power to change the future of that. You have the power over your life to decide and make those changes today. And our surroundings don't just include where we live, as you've already heard me talking about. I started talking immediately about people in our lives, because the people in our lives really do make up a huge amount of our surroundings. And a lot of people maybe sometimes don't realize how much the people that they're hanging out with are affecting them. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about myself. So when I was younger, I was very much, I loved reading, I loved books, I had a huge imagination, I was very creative. I always have been like that. And my parents got divorced when I was 9, and we had to move to a new city, and with my mom and my brother and my sister. And it was really traumatic. Like, it was beyond traumatic. I mean, I have journals that I wrote when I was 9, and it was awful. Like, reading them as an adult, seeing this like 9-year-old child going through this kind of mental anguish was it's really traumatizing. And that kind of helped to shape the fact that I have had anxiety for decades after, because it it gave me almost like stepping stones to post-traumatic stress. And it was because it was a traumatic experience that I went through, and I never learned that when I was young like that to heal from that. Now, when I grew up into middle school, I started getting bullied. And when I went into high school, and I had friends who enjoyed the same things as me when I was in middle school, and I was happy, you know what I mean? Like, I was happy, but when I started to realize that I was being bullied and my friends were being bullied, and I tried to stand up for them and try to protect them, and it just got me into like a lot of trouble. Like, I specifically remember one time where I wrote this like nasty letter to this girl who was bullying us, and I got in a lot of trouble at school for it. But you know what? Like, in my head back then, she deserved it. She was a bully. She was a really nasty person herself, and no, I shouldn't have written that mean letter like I did. But I mean, people shouldn't bully people. But when I got into high school, I wanted so desperately to fit in that I wanted to like be somebody else, and like I thought the high school was a way to recreate myself. And I actually ended up abandoning my friends who had my best interests at heart and from middle school, and hanging out with people who had nothing in common with me, didn't have my best interests at heart. We didn't have any of the same hobbies. They didn't even read books. They didn't even care about their lives. They just wanted to party, you know, do drugs, you know, drink, have fun. Like, they didn't care at all about anything. And I thought that these people were cool, you know, so I wanted to like be one of the cool kids. And it ended up giving me a really turbulent next couple of years of my life, even though deep down I knew that it wasn't right. And I continued to hang out with these people. They did backstabbing things to me. They were horrible. They spread rumors about me. I mean, all the stuff that you hear like on American TV about high school is like so true. Honestly, high school is just the worst. I would love to meet somebody who's had a really good experience in high school, because I'm pretty sure that everybody had a bad experience in high school, but I feel like mine was especially bad. I couldn't even get into on a podcast all of the things that happened to me in high school, that it would blow your mind. You would be like, you wouldn't even believe it. And so when I actually got out of high school, I still wasn't sure who I was, because I started to lose myself. I started to lose myself in the environment that I put myself in. I started to lose who I knew that I was, and try to like mold myself and fit in with these people who didn't even care about me as a person. And I ended up dating somebody when I was 18, and we dated for like 5 or 6.5 years, something like that, quite a long time. And we had nothing in common, honestly. Like, and as I started to go into my 20s, I mean, we were young, but as I started to go into my 20s, I realized that we had nothing in common more and more as I started to grow into who I was, and I started to embrace who I was, and I started, you know, writing more, and I started, you know, doing all the self-love and the self-care and the transformation and studying philosophy and, you know, studying mental health and studying self-help and developing my skills in that area. I realized that me and him had nothing in common. And I remember this as well too, I wrote a letter to him, and it was like a 7-page letter, like front and back, like reminiscent of Friends, when when the letter is written to Ross, from Rachel, and that he's there at the beach house and he's trying to read through it. And I remember asking my boyfriend then at the time to change with me, and that if he wasn't going to change with me, then I was going to have to end things. And I was devastated about this, but I had decided in my heart that it was final, that if he wasn't going to change, then I wasn't going to be able to change him, and I wasn't going to be able to wait anymore for him to change, because I wanted to change my own life. And I wrote that letter, I gave it to him, and he told me that he picked the lifestyle that he was living over me and expected me to stay with him. And I left. And I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And that was my first time kind of, going out and like figuring out who I was. I remember I got a really awesome apartment on the beach in Vancouver on Beach Avenue, and I like right on the corner of Jervis and Beach Avenue. I'm not sure if anybody listening to this is from Vancouver, but I was like really proud of myself. I was really happy. I was drawing in like all this amazing stuff to myself into my life, and it was because I took myself out of that environment. And in between those years where I had been dating him and I had been working on myself, I had eliminated all of the friends in quotation marks, okay, that I thought were my friends. I had eliminated them over that time period, and I had only kept him, and he was like the attachment to the old life that wasn't me. And I had to let go of him so that I could move forward for myself. And this is a very long-winded way of saying that of reiterating the fact that you have the power to make the decisions in your life, even if they're difficult decisions. And I did this back then, when I was in my early 20s. And whatever age you're at when you're listening to this right now, I've had to do it again, actually fairly recently. I was in a relationship with my ex for 4 years, and about 2 years into it, it wasn't right. And there was a series of things that happened that, his restaurant that he had opened went bankrupt, and my sister died, and so there were these things that kind of kept us together. We were a really good support system for each other through these really traumatic, hard things. Obviously, my sister dying is a lot more traumatic, but he had invested his life into this restaurant, and it closed, and it's a horrible, traumatic experience for him as well, too. And we were there for each other through that, and that kept us together in a relationship that wasn't healthy, and it wasn't right. And when I went traveling on my own, I wanted to experience life for myself and find out who I was again, as the older version of myself, a few years after doing what I had done. And I kind of wanted to, so I went traveling in 2018 for 5 months by myself, and I was still in a relationship with my ex at that time. And we tried like the long distance thing. Well, we did the long distance thing, and I came back. And when I got back, the relationship I knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't right. And I had to make a very difficult decision again, which was to leave somebody that I really cared about and go off on my own. And here I am now. We broke up in March 2019, and I now live in London. I have my own apartment here. My life is going well. I'm proud of myself. There's a lot of good things happening. There's so many good things going to happen in the future, but I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't take those very difficult decisions to really assess the relationships in my life and cut out the people that weren't aligning with who I want to be and where I want to go. And sometimes I'm really, really lonely. And I've also cut out a lot of friends in the past year and a half as well, too, because I was working with like a network marketing company, and I had a lot of these friends who I thought were my friends, but it turned out that they were just like the bullies in high school. They were going behind my back, they were talking about me behind my back, they were supportive to my face, and the most unsupportive people behind my back. And I had somebody show me this, and I'm so grateful for her for opening my eyes to it, because who knows how much longer it would have gone on. And so I cut myself free from that as well too, and it was liberating. But on the other hand, now I live in London. I know only a couple of people here, and I'm only like really close with one person here. And then I have I have a very small circle, I guess what I'm trying to say. And sometimes it's very lonely to have a small circle, but on the other hand, I couldn't be more grateful that I have that small circle, because I know and I love and I trust the people in my life to be supportive, and I support them, and I know that they have my best interest at heart. Whereas opposed to, 10 years ago or 5 years ago when I was spending time, or 15 years ago in high school, when I was spending time with people who just wanted to have fun. I had lots of friends back then. Had lots of friends, lots going on, lots of parties, lots of whatever, everybody's your best friend. And it was all fake, I couldn't trust anybody at all back then. And I feel so much better for choosing myself over those situations. And I hope that through me sharing these things with you, these very personal experiences in my life, that you can resonate with some of them. And I'm 100% sure that almost anybody listening to this podcast can resonate with this in some way in their life. Even if, as well too, you might have been in a negative family dynamic and had to, set up boundaries with your parents or a sibling or an aunt or uncle or relative or grandparent, um, because, or with your child, there are so many relationships in our lives, and we have to take the time to assess those because they create our surroundings. And the people in our lives, they set up our surroundings. And if you can run away and you can change your whole life. You can move to a new country, you can move to a new city. And if you don't assess the relationships that are in your life and you keep, dragging these negative relationships with you and your past with you, then no matter how many times you move or how many times you relocate and change jobs and, change relationships, and it's never going to change unless you inherently change yourself and the way that you view your past and view your and acknowledge your past decisions and recognize that you made those decisions and they brought you to the point that you're at right now. And there's another saying as well too that I've written in my book is that, so you've heard this saying, okay, so show me who your friends are and I'll show you who you are. I don't know who said that quote. If anybody knows, feel free to comment and let me know. But it's the same thing as well too. And I'm not sure if Jim Rohn said this other one, but we are the equivalent of the 5 people we spend most of our time with. And some questions to ask yourself when you're assessing your relationships with these other people is, are these people that you want to be like? Do they motivate you? Do they inspire you? Do they respect you? Do they encourage you? Do they celebrate your successes? Do they cheer you on? Do they admire your success? Are they somebody that you can learn from? That's an important one as well too. Are they working on building their own best quality of life? Because if they're not, and you're the only positive person in your group of friends, you cannot drag people on through life. You can't. You cannot change people. And I've tried, trust me. I tried. I tried to change my first ex-boyfriend, the long-term ex, and I tried to change my recent ex. I tried, and it is like pulling teeth. You cannot change people. And if you are listening to this right now and you think, oh God, I don't have anybody like this in my life who motivates me or inspires me, or I can learn from, or, you want to surround yourself with people that are more successful than you, and maybe you don't know anybody that's more successful than you, and you don't know where to find these types of friends, and you're thinking, well, I'm just going to keep living my life by myself, or keep living my life in the way that I have been and just stay with the people that are a part of your circle right now. I think that it's better to be alone than to spend time with people that do not have your best interest at heart, because you cannot hang out with like armed robbers and not get caught in crossfire. And it's the same way as you cannot hang out with successful people every day and not become successful yourself. You can't, because who you hang out with dictates and resonates even your subconscious. It is ingrained inside of us. The people that we spend our time with, who you choose to give yourself to, spend your energy on, the things that you say yes to, you are giving a part of yourself to these people. And if you're giving it to the wrong people, I think that it's better for you to be alone and then start manifesting the right people into your life. Because like I said here, I've gone to like tons of meetup groups. Like, this is a good perspective because I've moved to a new country by myself where I don't know anybody. When I moved here, I knew 0 people. That's how many people I knew. Absolutely nobody. I moved here totally alone. And I started going to, Facebook meetup groups, and there's like this group called London New Girl where you can meet girls who also moved to London by themselves. And I've gone to like 100 brunches and met so many women and have made only one friend out of all those people. But I could have made tons of acquaintances, you know what I mean? I could have had tons and tons of acquaintances, or tons and tons of friends, but they just weren't people that resonated with me. And so at first I was hanging out with some people that I didn't really like see myself being with them. They were totally different than me. And then I realized that even though I'm in a new country by myself, I don't want to be saying yes to going and hanging out with people that I don't actually want to be around. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that these people are bad people or anything like that. I'm saying like they just didn't have the same mindset as me. They didn't want a better life. They were happy, in very negative places and situations. And it's just it is not selfish or snobby or anything like that to want to surround yourself with people who are like-minded, or if you're working on cultivating a positive mindset and a healthy life for yourself, it is not negative or snobby or self-serving to want to expand your circle to people that are better than you are, so that you can learn from them. There is nothing wrong with that. And I actually have been attacked a little bit because I've made a group in the past, a group chat about mindset and like a ladies mastermind group. And it's actually funny because it's the people who I specifically knew that I didn't want to spend my time with who ended up being like, thinking that me not wanting to have them in that group or something was, exclusive of me or snobby of me. But you have to, and I think it's funny because they didn't want to change. You know what I mean? They didn't want to change, yet they wanted to attack somebody for wanting to change. Do you see how negative that is? It's very toxic. It's very toxic behavior. And the power to say no is a power that you need to develop. And it has taken me years to develop this, years. I even almost said yes to something this weekend that I didn't want to do. I've even also said yes to things, or almost said yes to things, or said yes to things and then decided that I didn't want to do it because I realized that my time is so valuable. And if I'm saying yes to situations that I don't want to be in, I'm giving my time to those people. I'm giving myself to those people. And by doing that, I'm abandoning myself. I'm abandoning who I want to be. And I could be using that time to do something for myself instead of going and spending, 3 hours with some people that I know nothing is going to come from it. And I know that this can sound very counterintuitive. If you're moved to a new country by yourself and you want to meet people and you want to get out there and you want to create a community for yourself, this can sound like very counterintuitive advice to not go and meet up with people. But I'm sharing this with you because you're not going to like everybody, and everybody's not going to like you. You're not for everybody. You know what I mean? And everybody's not for you, and that's okay. That's okay. You'll find your people, you'll find your tribe, you'll and until you do, value the very few people, even if it's just one friend that that you can really trust. Maybe as a practice from this podcast episode, write a list of people that that you can trust, and write a list of the environment that you find yourself in, and the family dynamic that you find yourself in, and the situation that you are in, your job, like your career, your hobbies, the things that you're committing your time to. Write them all down and assess them and see, like, is this serving me? Do I enjoy when I go and do this? Does this person, talking to them, how does it make me feel? I've had friends that have been my friends for 10 years. And every time I talk to them, I realized a few years ago, every time I talk to them, I actually feel worse. I feel stressed out. They're always complaining. They're always negative. They're always, like, their lives are just like going in a circle and they don't want to change. and I'm over here like on this super high vibe, and it just doesn't align, So I've actually had to distance myself from them. And do you know how guilty you feel when you care about somebody and you love them, but you don't want to spend time with them? It's okay to feel guilty. I mean, of course you would. And I'm not saying like abandon your friends. I'm saying assess how these people make you feel. And if it's a relationship you're in, or if it's a parent that you have, and you need to establish some boundaries because you want to make that relationship work. Maybe it's not a friendship that you can, because some friendships are easier, I think, to assess and then move forwards from. But if it's a relationship or a parent, you have to create healthy boundaries. And I've had to do this myself. And healthy boundaries are really, really important. I'm going to get into that in another episode. But I think that that's the most important thing to do today after listening to this. See what resonated with you, assess your past situations that you've been in, and really start to see, how those past decisions and past environments have subjected you to where you are now. And write down that list and cultivate a list of who, what, where, and how you're living your life right now, and see where you can start to make some changes. And something I talk about all the time too is like, don't make a million changes at once, okay? Write down this list, and so you have it, keep it somewhere, keep it safe. Nobody ever has to see this, it's private. And write that down and keep it, and make some changes, start making some tweaks, and you'll start to really see when it was a very toxic relationship or toxic situation, that you will feel a huge relief, a huge release from not having them in your life anymore. When I cut myself free from the network marketing people, I immediately, my life like vibe increased like so fast. I mean, I started just attracting much better things into my life, and I had all of this extra space for creating new things, and it was magical. And and I realized really fast that it's so much more important to me to have people that really do care about me and have my best interests at heart, because I'm a lover. I want to love and support people, and but when I do it, it's because I really care about you. I really care about you. I'm authentic in that, and I want to see you flourish and grow, and I will invest in you, and I will encourage you, and put that faith into you. And I don't want to do that for people that don't want to change themselves, or for people that aren't authentic back to me. It's like hearing that. I'm going to put this book down finally. It's like that. I don't know who says this either, but there's that saying of there's people that will just watch you on social media and never say anything, like, and pay attention to the people who are clapping for your successes. You know what I mean? Because there are also a lot of people that perhaps in your life secretly want you to fail. They secretly don't want you to do well. And I realized that there were people I was surrounding myself with in that group back then that wanted me to fail. They didn't want me to do well. And that's why they were going behind my back and doing things like that. So really take some time for yourself today. I appreciate you joining me, and I hope that this setup was better. I mean, I put a shirt on. I put a shirt on, and if you're watching this on YouTube, please go and watch the first episode, because what I was wearing was out of control. But I really appreciate you all coming with me on this journey, and I look forward to the next episode next Monday. And I hope that you take from this something valuable, whether it's relation to my own experiences and them resonating with you and making you want to assess some of the things that have gotten to you to where you're at right now, or whether it's writing that list and cultivating it, and then doing a good call of your friends and your relationships. And I want to reinstate this as well too, that you can have negative relationships with yourself. And if you find yourself, having that negative relationships and negative talks with yourself, it's important to recognize that as well too, and put yourself on the list and start to cultivate a good relationship with yourself, which is something we're going to be working on constantly throughout this podcast. all of these steps will help create a positive relationship with yourself. And if you'd like to dive deeper into what we were talking about today, don't forget to go and pick up my book, which can be found at my website, The Wealthy Optimist. So www.wealthyoptimist.com. I will see you guys on the next episode, and have a absolutely amazing week full of absolutely incredible blessings. Lots of love to you guys. Bye. All right, everybody, that's all I have for you today. I am so grateful for you to be able to take this time for yourself, that you chose to make the conscious decision to be here today, to listen to this, to share this message with somebody else who could value from it. I really appreciate your reviews, your positive reviews, and sharing with the community what you valued out of this lesson today. If you can think of somebody who really needs to hear this message, please share it with them. There is nothing better for me than receiving a podcast or a video or a positive message from somebody that I love that totally changes my outlook on the day. So please pass this on forward to other people. And don't forget to come over to my website, www.wealthyoptimist.com, so that you can connect with me and dive into your transformational journey with our 12-week program, completely breaking free from your past traumas, from your past mistakes, from your past negative energies, and just being able to release all of that and move forwards in our 12-step program that's accompanied by my book, Positive Power, the 12 Steps to Mastering Your Mindset. And I really look forward to having you join as part of our community. Thank you so much for taking the time today to do this for you. I am sending you all the love for a beautiful, wonderful day that you have ahead of you, or a wonderful sleep if you're listening to this in the evening. Until next time.